the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Let's sing it again, shall we? You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. We are the face of God. We hold you in our hearts. You are a part of us. You are the face of God. I think it's we. We are the face of God. And so we hold you in our hearts. You are a part of us. We are the face of God. You are a part of us. We are the face of God.
In prayer. We're grateful for the opportunity to come together to celebrate divine doubt, that thing within that keeps us reaching further for that intended purpose that we were created to fulfill, to grow into that, to express fully as the divine would have us express. We're so blessed to be able to come together here to celebrate our oneness. And I know that everything that takes place here today will be absolutely perfect in every way. I give thanks for all of the beautiful light beings who have come together to make this service possible, and for those who've come here to celebrate our oneness with us, knowing that everything is perfect in every way, and that we are connected by divine source. And that divine source flows in, around, through us, as us, in every way. I give thanks for all of the beautiful light beings in this space, for every beautiful light being expression of the divine everywhere in the universe, wherever they may be, and release these words into that law that knows how to mold, make, shape, and create all the good there is, everywhere, all of the time. I let this go, I let it be, and together we affirm, and so it is. So as usual, I had to spend hours trying to find something that Ernest might have said. He's a man of few words, so it takes a whole 5 minutes to dig up 3 quotes. So I've got the 3 that I spent that tedious 5 minutes. And here's his first one. In this invisible law of unfoldment, we must come to trust. And although we do not see the way, we must believe that the way is and is operative. We must trust the invisible, for it is the sole cause of that which is visible. God, he knows stuff, huh? What a brilliant man. Second quote from our Ernest. The way to get rid of fear is through cultivation of faith. A faith founded on the thought that God is all there is. Wow, imagine that, huh? And our third quote from our wonderful founder says, when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. We must learn to come under that divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled.
And good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day we're in, New Dawn. It's good. It's pretty dark out there. That's amazing. So good to be with you. And as Russell alluded, we're continuing our theme this month of divine doubt. And the expression and the thought is doubt isn't a bad thing, right? What if doubt actually brings us closer to our interpretation of the divine? And before we get into our specific message today, I did want to share with you, perhaps you may not have heard, the delightful spirit being Jean Houston has released her physical body and made her transition yesterday, I believe. Jean was a force in the human potential movement. She was all about exploring the possible human. I love her and I love the work. She continues to be integral in new thought and leadership development and integral spirituality. She actually wrote the foreword to the Science of Mind textbook, so very much connected. I had the opportunity to sit with her a couple of times when I was the editor of the magazine, and I would share with you that she is just as delightful and just as connected in person as those of you who may have, who are more familiar with her work, who, as she appears, so she is in real life as well. So we bless her as she steps into her greater yet to be. The other thing that I wanted to acknowledge, excuse me, is that yesterday was Armed Services Day. A day traditionally set aside to honor those who are still serving in our armed forces. So I want to just speak that into the room. We honor all those men and women wherever they may be in the world, representing the United States. And as I was reflecting on that talk, I came across a story that I remembered when I was working on my PhD in ethical and creative leadership. And the story's from a retired naval officer. And he was aboard an aircraft carrier during a time of tremendous global tension. And he was remembering his interactions with all of his officers, and more particularly with his younger officers. And sometimes people might think, you know, the military is a place where you have to be quiet and you have to toe the line. And to a degree, a fair amount of that is true. And this particular officer was one who was encouraging thoughts and ideas, particularly from his younger officers, to help them not only do what they needed to do, but to understand the why behind that. So he said that the people who worried him were not the people who were questioning everything. It was the people who were not questioning. Those who were moving forward with blind obedience, with absolute certainty all of the time. Because on a ship carrying thousands of people in the middle of the ocean, pretending certainty can be dangerous. He said one of the most important moments came when someone finally raised a hand and said, "I'm not sure that's the right course," or "I think we may be missing something here. Can we take a minute and rethink that?" And instead of shutting those moments down, he actually encouraged more of those moments, inviting people into conversation. When his thinking is the questions led to better decisions, right? What do we know? Anybody who's been on the planet for longer than a minute, people tend to support what they themselves create. So by inviting those young officers, by inviting those young leaders into the conversation, the buy-in was even more solid. Shared uncertainty led to deeper trust, leaning into each other. And honest doubt became part of the collective wisdom. And I thought that was such an important spiritual lesson for us today as we continue our conversation about doubt. Yeah, we get to hold that tension of the opposites. We get to be in that place of knowing as grounded spiritual beings, and we also get to question. We get to question what if. Sometimes in the transition of death, either perhaps our own or for a loved one, we get to be in that space of why. We get to be in that space of why God. We get to be in that place of, in times of war, when innocents, particularly children, are killed. We get to ask that question. We get to say, why God? We get to be angry if we choose. We get to be stoic if we choose. And we get to continue to move through our doubt, not as something personal and hidden away, but as something collective that we all get to explore and experience together. So that helps us move into that deeper connection and that deeper understanding of the capital T truth. So my friends, as those of you who have been with us for a while have become accustomed to, when I offer a thought, I would appreciate it if you would respond with, I trust the unfolding of my life.
I trust the unfolding of my life.
Even in our shared uncertainty.
I trust the unfolding of my life.
Even when the world feels unclear.
I trust the unfolding of my life.
Even when we don't know what comes next.
I trust the unfolding of my life.
Well done. Thank you. So again, as we continue to include Howard Thurman in our conversation this month, he writes, the fellowship of suffering, reminding us that what feels isolating personally is often deeply communal. And Ernest Holmes tells us, spiritual experience is deep, calm, and self-assertive. It is the result of actually realizing that the presence which binds all together in one complete whole. So that presence binds us together not only in certainty and joy, but also in questioning, searching, and wondering. And we get to do that together. So the first thought that I want to invite you into is that doubt is a human experience. Years ago, one of my favorite bumper stickers was, today's the first day of the rest of your life. And that is true for all of us, right? You haven't been this age before. You haven't been experiencing what you're experiencing before. Neither has anybody else on the planet. So by way of just one more plug for our workshop this afternoon on tranquil transitions, everybody is moving through transitions all the time. And so what we are doing is not necessarily providing answers, although if you get some from the work that you're doing in your own connection to the divine, that's brilliant, and we absolutely love that. We're not here to fix anybody or anything. We're simply here to say we're all in this together. And let's see what we can do to move forward with that. So doubt is a human experience. Later this month, I think a week from tomorrow, we'll be experiencing Memorial Day, a sacred time that was originally designated for families to remember loved ones who were killed in the line of duty or never came home from military service. For some people, it's cookouts and the unofficial start of summer. For others, it's grief, it's reflection, It's questions that still linger decades later. I read a story of a Gold Star mother, and many of you are familiar, perhaps more familiar than I. Gold Star parents are those who have lost a child at war. And there are people who have lost 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 children in war, at least in times past. Anyway, this woman shared that one of the hardest things that people said to her after the death of her son was, "Everything happens for a reason." While that may be the case, she said, "I don't need certainty. I need somebody to sit with me in my pain." So that's what hung with me, because collective doubt often emerges most powerfully during moments of collective pain. When war, violence, division, injustice, or tragedy unfold in the world, we naturally ask, is this the world we want to create? And then what we as metaphysicians move to is, how is healing possible? What do we need to do? What is ours to do? So those questions, my friends, to be clear, are not failures of faith. That doesn't mean that we're not connected. That doesn't mean that we're not spiritual. That doesn't mean that we would be going to hell if we believed in it. They are expressions of humanity. They are invitations into discernment, into compassion, and courageous participation in shaping something together. The other thing that I invite you to consider is the idea of collective doubt. Now, I know many of you may not know much about Eid, the important Islamic celebration observed by Muslims around the world. There are actually 2 major Eid celebrations. One happened in March at the end of Ramadan, the sacred month of fasting and prayer and reflection. And then another Eid happens next week. And this story honors the founder of the faith, honors Abraham and his willingness to trust God. And this particular holiday is connected to themes of sacrifice, devotion, generosity, and community care. And one of the beautiful things about Ramadan and the season leading into Eid is that it intentionally creates space for reflection and questioning. Now, I know many of you have done that by way of your own practice. We try to do that collectively by way of our community. And during that season, many people wrestle deeply with themselves. How am I living? Or, as Wayne Muller writes, how then shall we live? One of my all-time favorites. What matters most? Where have I become disconnected from God, from community, from compassion? And Eid, then, is not only a celebration of certainty, but a celebration of returning to one another after a season of honest spiritual reflection. And I love that, because collective spiritual growth doesn't happen because everybody agrees. I love you all madly, and if we all agreed all of the time, it wouldn't be very interesting, right? That is what we get to do as humans. Communities deepen when people can not only bring their beliefs, but also their questions, their fears, their uncertainties, and hopes into a shared space. So when we create communities where doubt is not only permitted, but encouraged, something remarkable happens. We become more compassionate listeners. As a friend and mentor of mine says frequently, we gain ears on our heart. We become more thoughtful participants. We become more open-hearted seekers and in our sharing. And we stop trying to win spiritual arguments and instead begin growing in spiritual understanding. The third thought I would like to share with you is the collective subconscious's role in personal doubt. So Rick and I left shortly after we concluded service last weekend, and we drove about an hour north to my family in Broomfield for my great niece's 5th birthday party. And it was a blast. And they loved Recess Rick, and apparently I did okay in the gift department, and we ate and we did our thing. And now, this week, we have to look forward to Michaela's preschool graduation. Now, I went to preschool, but I was there before the days of celebrating graduation at the preschool level. So this little one, as many of you have experienced with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, she's 5, and she's got her cap and her gown, and she has been practicing her walk. And Karen, you know this, and Trail with your girl, your twin granddaughters who are 5 and a half, and she's on it. And she is ready for graduation, and she is ready for whatever comes next. Well, I am reminded of the story of another little preschooler who had that same energy, right? She was ready, and she was graduating, and she had her cap and her gown, and the tassel was on the right side, and she had on her favorite pink shoes, and they called her name, and she walked across the stage, and then she stepped up to the microphone, and she said very sheepishly, "And I still don't know how to tie my shoes." That is authenticity in the middle of group consciousness, right? She's not waiting until she's perfect before she can step into the first grade or kindergarten. She's not waiting until she has all of the answers to be able to move on. So where is perfection holding you back? I know a number of us identify as recovering perfectionists. And among other things, being a triple Virgo, Rick can tell you that continues to be a part of my journey on a daily basis. But what if that was the wisest statement of the day? When this little one said, "I still can't tie my shoes." She unintentionally modeled something that adults so often forget. It's okay to celebrate growth while not having everything figured out. So take the small wins. Ernest writes about what he called race suggestion, what we now call the collective subconscious, the shared field of beliefs, fears, expectations, and assumptions we absorb from the communities around us, simply from being on the planet. So many of our doubts are inherited, right? The first 5 minutes we were born, we were all extraordinary and awesome. We didn't have a name. We didn't necessarily have a gender identity at that point. We didn't have a race. We didn't have a caste. We didn't have a religion. We just got to simply be there, and everybody was happy to welcome us to the planet. And then everything started to become layered upon us. That is the race consciousness. So those are the shared field of beliefs, fears, expectations. So many of our doubts are inherited. We absorb those messages from family systems, from media, from politics, from religion, from culture, from society. You get it. We absorb everything from those around us. And we're still supposed to be what we are supposed to know, right? And we're still supposed to figure all of this out. And because we're social beings, we often assume everyone else knows how to do it. Everybody else has it figured out. I'm the outlier. I'm the one that doesn't know what's going on here. So if you're in that space, of transition, join us this afternoon for Tranquil Transitions. Whatever you're moving into or out of, let's gather and support each other in that process. So, speaking of my great niece and her graduation, with 4 earned degrees, I loved participating in all of those graduation ceremonies. And that preschool graduate unknowingly revealed a profound spiritual truth. Growth and uncertainty coexist beautifully. That is the tension of the opposites that we get to hold. We don't graduate from being human. We don't evolve beyond questioning, and we do not need to compete, certainly, in order to move forward joyfully and courageously. You've heard me reference before a dear friend of mine, Reverend Norm Bouchard, who made his transition about 2.5 years ago. And Norm wrote a book that was on his bucket list. And his book is called 29 Questions for the Ordinary Life. And, you know, I know Norm, know his energy, know the light that he's bringing to the planet. And I didn't understand the title of his book. I said, Norm, why are you encouraging people to ask questions to have an ordinary life? Wouldn't it make more sense, being who you are and the light you're bringing to the planet, 29 questions for an extraordinary life? And he's like, David, maybe. And he said, what do we know as ministers? What do we know as people of faith? What do we know of people who understand just a little bit of psychology and Maslow's hierarchy? That first we have to get people to ordinary, then we can invite them into extraordinary. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You win. So how do we do that? How do we do that at New Dawn? First is we hold space for collective questioning, understanding that shared uncertainty is a part of our growth. You know, your volunteer board met this past week for one of our monthly meetings and did a lot of good work. Those meetings always uplift me and bring me joy. And I don't often say that about meetings. And everybody showed up. Everybody said what they knew. Everybody gave updates about what they were working on. And we don't have all the answers. Yeah? And we're still kicking around ideas like the puppy pool party. Oh, stay tuned. You know, it may happen, it may not. But uncertainty is a part of our shared growth. And the second thing that we do here at New Dawn is we practice deep listening, allowing multiple perspectives to exist without needing immediate resolution and not needing to make anybody wrong, right? Rather than saying, David, we love you, and that's really a bonehead idea, everybody was like, well, let's make a call and let's see what we can do, yeah? So we don't need to make anybody wrong. And we treat doubt not as division, but as an invitation into a deeper understanding and connection. So if you've been here before, hopefully that puts some words around what you already know. If you're new to our community or with us for the first time, hopefully that offers a little context about who we are and how we move through this thing we call life and what we are doing together. And our affirmation for today, I share the power and potential of collective curiosity. If you would please join me in prayer. If our practitioner prayer partners would please stand and join me in consciousness. There's only one life, one infinite presence, one divine intelligence expressing through every person, every experience, every question, and every longing heart. That presence is present with the service member standing watch in uncertainty. It is present with the grieving mother remembering a child lost too soon. It is present with communities around the world gathering in sacred reflection during holy seasons like Ramadan and Eid. It is present in the joyful honesty of a little girl proudly graduating preschool while still not knowing how to tie her shoes. And so today we remember that doubt does not separate us from one another. It reveals our shared humanity. Our questions are not evidence that Spirit is absent. They may actually be evidence that Spirit is inviting us deeper. We release the exhausting burden of pretending certainty. We allow ourselves to be learners, seekers, explorers together. We trust that even when the path ahead feels unclear, something sacred is unfolding through our collective curiosity, compassion, and courage. May we become communities that listen deeply, communities that welcome honest questions, communities that understand that growth is rarely tidy, but always holy. And may we move forward together, not because we know everything, but because we are willing to love, to learn, and to keep showing up for one another anyway. I release, I let go, I simply allow this to be. And we anchor this together by saying, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are.
It's in our eyes. Questions of the ages, challenges and stages, everywhere we see, along with change. And it's in the trust. But even the best of us, we can lose our way. That's why I'm here to say, I'm gonna hold you in the light, hold you in the light, hold you till you know again everything's all right. And I'll remind you, as you are enough. Gonna hold you in the light of love. It's in our hands. There are angels in every answer. Don't lose your second chances. This is where we're meant to be. Don't second guess. You deserve the happiness you truly so deserve. And that's why I say, I'm gonna hold you in the light, hold you in the light, hold you till you know again everything's all right. And I'll remind you, as you are enough. I'm gonna hold you in the light of love. I'm gonna ask you to remember you have everything you need. Anytime you look into a mirror, love surrounds you. Wherever God finds you, you are good enough. For you don't have to be perfect, not you or me. I'm gonna hold you in the light, hold you in the light, hold you till you know again that everything's all right, and I'll remind you, as you are enough. I'm gonna hold you in the